Feudal Japan lasted 7 centuries from 1185 to 1868. The feudal age was split into 3 periods.
The Kamakura period, also known as the Age of the Samurai, was from 1185 to 1333.
The Tokugawa period, which we saw the end of the feudal system, lasted from 1600 to 1868.
Society during this time was split into 4 major classes.
The emperor and the royal family.
The shogun and ruling military nobles.
The samurai were the paid soldiers and peacekeepers.
The peasants, who were farmers, merchants, and artists.
The 3 noble classes, the emperor, the shogun, and the samurai, made up 12% of the population.
Peasants made up the other 88%.
The emperor only held ceremonial power. Like the Queen of England today, he was simply a figurehead.
The shogun held the real power, using puppet emperors to rule. The Kamakura, Ashikaga, and Tokugawa periods are named after the different shogunate that ruled during that time. The daimyo protected the shogun, and they were the leader of the samurai.
The samurai were Japanese warriors, similar to the European knight. Samurai served and protected the daimyo and shogun above them. While bringing justice and order to the community, they also followed a code of conduct called Bushido. Basically, Bushido means way of life. The samurai were told by the Bushido how to live their lives.
Peasants made up more than 75% of the population. Farmers were responsible for food production, rice being the most important crop. Artists and craftsmen were responsible for goods and worked with wood and metal. They played a vital role in making swords. And merchants, who were the lowest of the peasant class because they gained from others' hard work, traded goods across Japan.
When the shogunate were at their most stable, art and culture flourished and architecture was at its peak.
The Kamakura period was also known as the Age of the Samurai because the samurai held power at this time.
The Kamakura shogunate founded a centralized government.
They placed Go-Toba on the throne as a puppet emperor.
The shogun used a network of samurai through the country to keep the peace.
The samurai would replace local governments and take land from the wealthy aristocrats. Because of this, they caused the centralized government to grow weaker until the samurai took control and began developing law. This caused rival families to fight over territory.
The Mongol invasions of 1274 and 1281 forced Japan to unite and face the common enemy.
In 1274, the Mongol fleet engaged Japanese armies at the island of Kyushu. When it seemed that the Mongols were going to win, a massive typhoon wiped out a majority of their invasion force.
What's that? It's the Mongols again! The Mongols tried to invade again in 1281, but were forced to retreat due to bad weather. Japan remained alert, expecting a third attempt, but due to problems in the mainland, the Mongols no longer cared about Japan.
The result of this war was fatal to the Kamakura government, as they could not pay their troops. By 1333, the Kamakura were overthrown, and there were 3 years of strife until the Ashikaga could bring control.
The Ashikaga took control in 1336, but were unable to assert their control on the various provinces and often fought rival clans for territory. Bureaucratic governments developed local rule and weakened the centralized government.
The Ashikaga shogunate fell in 1573.
Tokugawa re-established a centralized government in 1600. All elements of society were controlled by the military.
It was at this time when society was split into 4 classes.
The Tokugawa were worried about the samurai rebellion,
Because they had weapons taken away from the lower classes.
so they forced the daimyo to leave their families at the capital as hostages whenever they returned to their respective domains.
Merchants supplying the military became more richer than the samurai.
Many of whom now lived in poverty.
When the US came to Japan seeking commercial relations, many groups in society were ready for change.
This brought the end of the feudal system in 1868.
We can't talk about ancient societies without mentioning their religions.
The Shinto was the belief that all natural phenomena, plants, and animals were held divine power.
Buddhism and Confucianism came to Japan during the beginning of the feudal age.
These new religions brought new beliefs and ideas to the remote island.
Buddhism, while in India, held the belief that men and women were equal. It was very chauvinistic in East Asia.
The belief was that if you were born a woman, you were inherently evil in your past life.
Women were forced into isolation and were not allowed to get an education.
This was a drastic change as women before held near equal rights to men.
Some women were even able to become samurai.
Women were even encouraged to rule because of the confidence that women would be able to bring peace and regulation to the country.
Buddhism brought an end to all of that, claiming that only men were able to reach enlightenment.
Only aristocratic women were educated in the confines of their own homes.
When the feudal age was brought to an end, women
Screw the feudal age, screw Buddhism, and screw what history did to women!
I think that's where we're going to end.
Yeah, let's go.
Alright. There's gonna be more bloopers than actual video.
There's gonna be more bloopers than actual video.
When the feudal age was brought to an end, women...
When the feudal age was brought to an end, women...
I stop.
Okay, sorry.
I stop.
I forget.
Let's do this.
Ruling... The
Get that common ringtone back.
When it seemed that the Mongols were going to win a massive typhoon, they were going to win a massive typhoon and put it on their shelves, guys.